everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name's Jemima, I'm in recovery from an eating disorder and I'm finding faith through the fight. So for today's video and for the next few videos as well, I'm kind of going to be splitting it into about 3 or 4 different parts. But I'm going to be sort of giving advice on do's and don'ts for helping people in recovery. Now these videos are aimed at people who are caring for someone in recovery, so a family or friend or just someone looking after them. So the first thing is, do not make assumptions. That is so important. I'm going to say it again, don't make assumptions. Every single eating disorder is different, but do go and learn about them. Research them, look them up online, and also just ask the person that you are caring for what their eating disorder is like and what you can do to help. Which leads me on to my next one, which is don't think you know what to do and say. The simple answer is you probably don't. And don't think you understand it either, because you probably don't. In fact, the person who has the eating disorder probably doesn't even understand it themselves. So do ask them what they're struggling with and how you can support them. And you can ask really specifically as well, that's okay. Another thing is, don't tell them what the practical solution to their problem is. When they're talking to you, they might say something that they're struggling with, and eating disorders are really illogical. So it might be that there's a really logical solution to it, but chances are they probably actually know what it is already. So telling them won't make them feel any better. It's just that they can't quite get themselves to do it yet. So encouraging them is the best way. The real them usually knows how to do it, but the ED is stopping them. Instead, listen and ask them if they think they know what the right thing to do is. The next thing is so important. Do not guilt trip them. Do not tell them that they are killing themselves. It just doesn't work. They already know that. Just let them know how much you care and how worried about them that you are. And similarly, do not give ultimatums. Don't say, oh, if you love me, then you'd eat. Or what about the poor, starving people? They don't have food. Make the most of it. You actually have food and be grateful. Instead, encourage them. Say, I may not understand, but I'd like to help and I'm here to listen. And don't try and handle it alone either. It's hard. Don't be the only person who they're going to. That's not healthy. There should be a few people. So do get help if you need to as well. It's totally okay to have that person that you need to talk to, or to even be talking to a professional as well yourself. It's not just up to you to get them better. Don't assume that because they've done something once, they're now fine and can do it again. That is not how eating disorders work. Normally, there are these rules that they've created in their heads and that the eating disorder's told them that are lies, and the eating disorder has persuaded them that they are truths. And so breaking these rules and breaking these ideas and truths in their head will take more than just defying it once. The way to break these cycles is to do it over and over and over again. So to eat that thing you're scared of over and over and over again. And very slowly it will get less hard and less hard until it's not difficult at all. So do give them constant praise and constant encouragement, even if they've done something before. Tell them they're doing a really good job. And congratulate any tiny little challenge that they've overcome as well. This could be things that seem totally normal, like eating food on a larger plate or with big cutlery. Say, well done, I can see that was really hard for you. You're doing so well. Something else that's really important is don't refer to the ED as themselves. They are separate from their eating disorder. They are not the ED. The ED is not part of them. Something else you can do to help this is to label the eating disorder. Now, some people give it a name, some people just call it ED, or others like to just come up with other names as well for it, so that whenever you're referring to it, you can use the name so that it keeps detached from themselves. A fun little story, me and my sisters actually secretly named my eating disorder Agatha. It sounds kind of evil, also began with an A, like so when I had anorexia it kind of worked. But it came from the Marvel TV series called WandaVision, and that song that went, he's been messing up everything, it's been Agatha all along. So it was like, yeah, my Agatha, the eating disorder, has been messing up everything. So it was just kind of comical, and we sort of laughed about it, and it gave it a name as well, which was quite handy. The next thing is, do not assume that they are taking things the right way. Chances are they will take everything you say the wrong way, in the most extreme version. Think about what you're saying before you say it, and think of the worst way it could be taken in their heads, and they will probably take it that way. Instead, ask them, what's going through your mind? Say, no, that's a lie if it's not true, and tell them it's not true. Tell them what the truth is. Another thing is, do not assume that they don't want to come to something just because it involves food. Even if you've asked them before and they've said no, they really do appreciate an invitation. Keep asking and keep offering, and they will say yes at some point. It might take a long time, but when they do say yes, you'll feel good too. Don't be surprised if they are in denial. Talk to them and let them know that you're worried about them and think that they need some professional help. And then do your research and find out what professional help is out there and show it to them. You might have to come back to them quite a few times, but don't leave it too long between the last time that you spoke to them, because they do need to know that you are worried about them. The next thing is, don't take the blame. It's not your fault at all. It's nobody's fault, and just do your best to help. It won't always be perfect, but we all make mistakes. Equally, don't blame them either. It isn't their fault. Having an ED is not a choice, but recovery is, so you can encourage them to make that choice and make that step for themselves. Don't give up on them, even if it feels like it is taking absolutely forever. I promise you they are trying and they are going through a living hell, which is horrible. If you give up on them and leave them, then it's much less likely that they're going to get better, because they won't have anyone to recover for. Do stick by them through thick and thin, even if it means putting some boundaries in sometimes to protect yourself. And the last thing is, don't assume that because something has worked for a bit of time that it's going to work in their whole recovery journey. That's not how EDs work. EDs, especially during recovery, will morph and change, and when one severe rule has been combated, we'll probably create another one that's slightly less severe and you'll have to combat that one. So they're constantly changing and they're constantly evolving. So do check in regularly to see if there's anything that you can do different to help them and to help them better. It's also likely that they'll need less support and different support as they go through their recovery journey. So that's all the ones for today, but I'll be back next week with some more on different topics. But that was just kind of a general do's and don'ts.